Now, The Ian Jessop Show.
Of the more than 800 interviews I do every year in this program, I get more emails asking about Corrie Yelland than any other guest. People want to know how to contact her, or they want to know when she's going to be on the show again. As a matter of fact, I had 2 emails this morning asking that question. She's the woman diagnosed with anal cancer in 2011, refused radiation, and was told by refusing conventional treatment she only had 6 months to live. She researched cannabis oil, started taking it, and is now cancer-free and thriving. I haven't heard back from her yet, but have asked her if she'll be on the show again on Monday, May the 9th at 2 o'clock, and I'm pretty sure she'll accept. So that's Monday, May the 9th at 2 p.m. Now, the topic of marijuana will be front and center over the next year, with the federal government having announced that marijuana will be legalized next spring. Let me share with you this story. It's about Wallace Rose. In August of 2013, he went to the doctor experiencing stomach pains. CT scans found a tumor on his pancreas. In this clip, he tells his story, with his wife commenting, about his use of cannabis oil. Let's hear Wallace Rose tell his story.
He told us that it was cancerous, but still in stage 1 at that point. And he thought surgery could save me, but I needed to see an oncologist for a referral to a surgeon. In our first meeting with the oncologist, he told us that if they removed the tumor in the pancreas, it would save my life.
And that it was still early enough to do that.
It's still early enough to do that at that point. I had no insurance. The surgeon wanted a little over $10,000 in advance, cash, to perform the surgery. UMC also wanted around $6,000 cash in advance before they would schedule the surgery.
That's why it took so long.
So my friends did fundraisers, and we raised the money to do that, and paid the hospital and paid the doctor, and then they scheduled the surgery on November 4th.
So 6 weeks.
6 weeks was
a long time.
A long time to wait with
Nerve-wracking.
it was
horrible
it was
time.
very hard on us, both emotionally and financially, to make it through that period. When the surgeon opened me up, he discovered that the tumors had spread. The pancreatic tumor had grown through the pancreatic wall and attached itself to the stomach. There were numerous tumors in my liver, a spot in the kidney that was yet unknown at that point, and the pancreatic tumor had attached to the spleen and was involved with the arteries. The bottom line was they had to pull the cameras out, pull their instruments out, sew me back up, and discontinue the surgery because it had spread. At that point, they diagnosed it as stage 4. While I was still in recovery, the doctor took my wife Kathy to the side, told her to give me palliative care. There was nothing more that could be done with surgery, and that any further treatments would have to go through the oncologist.
That was so horrible.
It was very difficult to take. Then we went back to the oncologist on December 18th, and he told us the cancer had metastasized and spread throughout my body. He said that I could start declining in about 3 weeks and starve to death within a month. There was nothing they could do, that he could not cure me of stage 4 pancreatic cancer. There was no cure. He said the most the chemo would do would be keep it from spreading any further and may extend my life 6 to 8 months maximum. What I have here are my lab trends starting from the first time I saw the oncologist. The panel is called the tumor markers. How many cancer cells are found in a blood sample per unit? On the 19th of September, my cancer cell count was 287. 2 weeks after the attempted pancreatomy, my cancer cell count had gone from 287 to 1,406.7. Less than a month later, on December 18th, my cell count had gone up to 4,587.8.
And that's when we thought he was going to die.
On the day after Christmas, I went in and started my chemo. The cancer cell count on that day was up to 5,006.8, which the doctor explained was saturation level. Cancer was all through my body. Basically, I was so desperate that I decided to have a party right before Christmas, invited all my friends and family from all over the country to come and say goodbye to. And one of them, actually a number of them, came from Colorado. I don't know who, but one of my relatives, our friends, put a bunch of little vials of Phoenix Tears in Kathy's Christmas stocking.
This is what I found in my stocking. About 15 of these.
This is Phoenix Tears. Phoenix Tears are made using some sort of solvent base. The marijuana is cooked on a very low temperature for a long period of time until what's produced is an oil.
It's very gooey.
Very gooey. It doesn't taste very good. The only way for it to help cancer is for it to be ingested. The psychological effects caused by marijuana are not really present taking the Phoenix Tears. When I first heard about it, I thought it was snake oil. I didn't believe it. I thought it was propaganda for the pro-marijuana legalization movement. But with such a bad prognosis that I would start declining in around 3 weeks and could be dead in a month, I figured at that point I had nothing to lose, including my reputation. So I began taking the Phoenix Tears. I took about 2 to 3 grams of it every day, not knowing what would happen or if it would do any good. So I began searching for a medical marijuana doctor that could help me pursue this cure. Fortunately, I found a Dr. Kathleen Smith who helped me obtain my medical marijuana license. I took it faithfully the remaining few days of December and every day in January, and didn't begin to believe it until my test came back in February.
You still didn't believe it after those scans.
Showing my
He didn't believe
cancer
it. He thought
cell
there was an error.
count was down. I thought it was an error. I still was believing what the oncologist and the surgeon had told me, and still could not believe either in the Phoenix Tears or a divine miracle either. The Phoenix Tears, along with the 2 chemo medications, gemcitabine and Abraxane, has definitely proved effective. I cannot say for sure whether the Phoenix Tears could have done the same by themselves. I would like to say that, and that's what I believe. But the fact is, together, the 3 of those have eaten up, disintegrated my cancerous tumors. Multiple tumors in my liver are gone. My spleen, gone. My stomach wall, gone. My kidneys, gone. Only thing remaining is a very small portion of what was my pancreatic stage 1 tumor. At last count, my blood cell count had dropped to 312.2 on February 6th, to 80.1 on March 6th, to 42 on March 30th. Normal is 35. I will continue the Phoenix Tears the rest of my life. I've already chosen to make that step. I will discontinue the chemo as soon as the tumors are gone. I believe the cannabis oil will control my tumor. I or cure it completely.
He's doing so much better. He's working, he's driving, working, like going to work 5 days a week. He's playing with the kids. It's a miracle. Thank God. Thank God.
On May 28th, 2014, CT scan showed no cancer in Wallace Rose, and his cancer cell count was normal. We'll take a break and come back.
Stimulating talk. Now, The Ian Jessop Show.
Before I had Corrie Yelland on the program, I knew very little about marijuana, but I knew nothing about the history of marijuana, virtually nothing. But the website Ancient Origins has a fantastic summary of a journey through the ages of cannabis. And I want to pass it on to you. It says, in 1997, a hemp rope dating back to 26,900 BC was found in Czechoslovakia, making it the oldest known object to be associated with cannabis. Since that time, hemp has played an important role in humanity's development. For thousands of years, marijuana was not only legal, but an important crop among cultures throughout history, and held commercial, medicinal, and spiritual value. The cultivation of cannabis, commonly known as marijuana, can be traced back to at least 12,000 years, which places the plant among humanity's oldest cultivated crops. Cannabis plants are believed to have evolved in Central Asia, in the regions of Mongolia and southern Siberia. The earliest cultural evidence of cannabis comes from the oldest known Neolithic culture in China, the Yangshao, who appeared along the Yellow River Valley. From 5000 to 3000 BC, the economy of the Yangshao was cannabis-driven. Archaeological evidence shows that they wore hemp clothing, wove hemp, and produced hemp pottery. The first recorded use of marijuana as a medicinal drug occurred in 2737 BC by the Chinese Emperor Shen Nung. He documented the drug's effectiveness in treating the pains of rheumatism and gout. Both hemp and psychoactive marijuana were widely used in ancient China. The ancient Chinese used virtually every part of the cannabis plant: the root for medicine, the stem for textiles, rope and paper making, the leaves and flowers for intoxication and medicine, and the seeds for food and oil. Cannabis seeds were also one of the grains of early China, and ancient tombs of China had sacrificial vessels filled with hemp for the afterlife. The first medical journals in China were made up of hemp, and eventually it came to replace papyrus as the source of paper that eventually fostered the spread of written language. It was used to record the deeds of history, eventually replacing clay tablets and expensive silk to be read by everyone. From China, coastal farmers took marijuana to Korea around 2000 BC or earlier. It reached India between 2000 BC and 1000 BC when the region was invaded by the Aryans, a group that spoke an archaic Indo-European language. They called cannabis bhang. In India, the Aryan region grew through oral tradition and was recorded in the 4 Vedas, or books of knowledge, compiled between 1400 and 1000 BC. They worshipped the spirits of plants and animals, and marijuana played an active role in their rituals. Like the Chinese, the people of India have a long history of using hemp in their clothing and medicine. Cannabis use in ancient Egypt has been recorded as far back as 2000 BC, found on scrolls depicting medicinal plants. It was first documented in Kemet, ancient Egypt, to treat sore eyes and cataracts. According to a Sicilian Greek historian, Egyptian women used cannabis as a medication to relieve sorrow and bad humor. In 1213 BC, cannabis pollen was found on the mummy of Ramses II. Additional research has linked cannabis pollen to all known royal mummies. Marijuana was introduced to the Middle East between 2000 BC and 1400 BC, where it was probably used by the Scythians, a nomadic Indo-European group. The medical use of the plant in the Middle East is recorded in 700 BC in the Venedad, an ancient Persian religious text written by Zoroaster. The Scythians brought cannabis to Europe from the Altai Mountains to Germany around 2,800 years ago. The Greeks made mention of it as a remedy for earache, edema, and inflammation in 200 BC. From there, marijuana went to Britain during the 5th century Anglo-Saxon invasions. The Spanish brought marijuana to the Americas in the mid-1500s, and the English introduced it at Jamestown in 1611, where it became a popular commercial crop alongside tobacco. In 1799, Napoleon brought marijuana back to France from Egypt, where it was investigated for its pain-relieving and sedative qualities. Cannabis finally reached the United States at the beginning of the 20th century, arriving in the Southwest from Mexico as immigrants fled the country during the Mexican Revolution in 1910 and 1911. And beginning in the early 1900s, a number of state and local laws in the United States began prohibiting the use of marijuana. A federal law called the Marijuana Tax Act banned its use and sales in 1937. And there you go, a history of cannabis from the website Ancient Origins.